It is March 24 in a rapidly greening Mojave, east of Las Vegas at the Dry Lake Range out there. Dry Lake Range, traverse 10 miles or so, ending at a rapidly expanding area of solar fields, which made access a bit difficult, which makes access still a bit difficult. I have to walk a road towards the southwest edge of the range out there. Those are the sheeps in Las Vegas range further above. Never done much in the Las Vegas range. We've halfway traversed the sheeps together. 22. And way out there are the virgins. With the muddies here. The North Muddies there. Valley of Fire embedded within the muddies here. Tons of Californians there yesterday. Quite a scenic place. Rapidly greening, I wouldn't say floriferous quite yet, but we might be getting there within days. Took a road system from the muddies to the south end here of the Dry Lake Range, which does look traversable. Plants are already a lot more interesting here. Not that brassica, of course, but much of the rest. And the plants were along the road walk. Lots of invasive mustard. Flora, for example. Not necessarily brassica. Dry Lake Range, there's the beginning. Probably looking at the future edge of Las Vegas here. We can see the downtown. That's Sunrise Mountain, Lake Mead area. Power lines extending towards Hoover. Apex gypsum mine, I believe. But here's the southern Dry Lake Range. Lots of cacti appearing all of a sudden on the limestones. Proportion of weeds from elsewhere, Eurasia, etc., decreasing as we leave those road systems behind for a while. This range is about 10 miles long, south to north. Here's mile 0. I expect to complete most of it today, despite being quite out of shape. Haven't been on a long hike since 2 months or more now, for various reasons. Hasn't been good though, and I'm definitely feeling some soreness after the road walk yesterday. Haven't seen any new plants to collect yet, but that's part of the hope of doing this traverse. In the background always. I think it's North Muddies ahead there next for further hopes. Things are becoming greener and more interesting by the day here. Limestone shelves harboring these reduced enceelias. At maturity, they're barely getting to half meter or so. We see them sometimes well over a meter. sometimes closer to 2 once in a great while. The lower washes. This isn't the most wildernessy of traverses with the interstate down there. An enormous mining and quarrying complex, which integrates into solar fields. We are really just on the edge of current day Las Vegas, probably on the near edge of future Las Vegas, at least until the water becomes untenable. Muddy mountains out there. There's a point to doing all walks. The point to doing this one is there's still some botany going on for the earliness of the season. I can tell it's been a cold winter out here. Aloof in Colorado and Caribbean and Florida. Prior to this return visit to Nevada. Coming back, I can tell winter's been on the cooler side and on the wetter side. Lots of Schismus out here. The composition of the flora is not going to lend itself to super blooms per se. I see an occasional phacelias, but way more won't to see annual Schismus from the Mediterranean. Tons of Eurasian starting up. Those flower a little bit later. Some Camisonia starting. I think I've collected almost all of these species before, even when they do mature. It's still nice to see the greenery in the Mojave, and the state of things here between 2,000 and 3,000 feet tells me that 3,000 to 4,000 feet probably is not quite ready yet either. But I hope to check that higher grade out later in the week. It's windy, which is keeping it just slightly on the coolerish side. It is definitely short sleeve and spring break weather today, however. Here's the rest of the range. The humongous twisted downwards contortion here, down to the valley. This thing drops off and picks up again. This is the end of the first part of the ridge. It's a fine spring day. Plenty of plants, just used to seeing them all. Lots of Eurasian weeds even up here. Plenty of perennial natives. Annuals, just a little bit of mix of origins. Native versus invasive. Day's starting to kick my butt a little bit, some hours in. It's constant up and down the limestones. A lot of stuff is just on the cusp of actually flowering. Yeah, I'm sure we'll see some good botany ahead, just maybe not today per se. Got some beautiful xanthisma starting to come out here. Loving its limestones as it does. Not many perennials otherwise flowering quite yet. Lots of annuals flowering, they're just not so impressive. Cheat grasses, for example. I actually want to avoid showing you anymore. Cheat grasses, most likely. Most of our future work is going to be in the north continuously now. It's just a brief sojourn back to the difficult Mojave. Still things I do want to be looking out for out here. Stuff in the Nephilim group, broadly speaking. That tribe of asters. You can find other interesting ephemeral, kind of more mesic-soiled things and cracks, even in the Mojave too. Cracks in the rocks. Might be some claytonias, for example. But yeah, there's Schismus dominating this close. Las Vegas and major mining operations nearby. Well-trafficked area for well over 100 industrial years now. Although Las Vegas wasn't so big back then, nonetheless it was a hub, an oasis in the desert going back into the 1800s. Like limestones for exploration. They turn up lots of surprises. Lots of nicotines in the crevices. Lots of things we've commonly seen together. There's been a couple gnarly spots, but nothing too crazy with a heavy-ish pack. Still testing some gear out and getting back into field season mode. So I overpacked, in other words, kind of on a crazy level compared to my baseline when living out here. But you lose some skills along the way and gain them back, and that's how life works. I think it's going to be gentling out for the most part ahead either way. Some subsidiary hills. Interesting day of walking nonetheless. Passed by a mine for most of the afternoon out there. Now I'm well beyond it. Making steady progress towards the north end. End of today, early tomorrow. Here's the interstate below. It's been a rather meandering ridge. I think it begins to drop off for good after that last bump ahead, with some quite narrow limestone band in the meantime. Some of it looking a bit iffy, challenging. Vast swaths of the lower Mojave of Clark County have been eaten up by solar panels. It's encroaching into virgin valleys out here. This is abutting the border of Valley of Fire ahead, and it's just beginning. It's the new form of agriculture that is dominating lowland deserts, which were once relatively intact habitats, kind of like this. Mixture of native and invasive species, but this is the equivalent to agriculture in which no plants are allowed to exist, and scarcely any animals, of course. This widespread solar is a bad thing. Probably the last one to document this place before it's done for. I'm not finding too much to document, so quite unfortunate. Mountains will remain refugia for the desert plants. I'm just not sure the desert tortoises can survive all the occupation of lowland desert. Solar panel sweep, which is currently what's precisely happening across all lower reaches of Clark and parts of Pahrump area, Nye County. Coming towards the end of day one of this traverse. I thought it was a 1-day traverse at around 10 miles, but I'm a little bit slow today. I'll wrap up in the morning, head back to the car, refresh, and start out on a new excursion. Take you along the way there. Hopefully see more native plants. Got plenty of plants out, I'm just choosing not to show many of them. We've seen them before, or it's kind of, to be perfectly honest with you, a little bit on the depressing side sometimes with the composition of mustards and grasses present. Know this, it doesn't get enough attention, but Schismus is a serial problem out here, folks. Schismus, Orbatus, Arabicus, doesn't matter. This one's a little sketch bar, so I'm gonna have to down climb this wall here somewhere and continue from there. Probably camp up on the top of that rock a bit after darkness at this point. I don't feel good about this with my pack and current bodily condition and the consequences. There's a pass by though. I've had to check it out. Continuing tonight. Dry Lake Range, that was the last big bump. Slept in between two citadels there. Let's climb the first bump of the morning and see this ahead. Just a few little tapering bumps ahead. I gotta get past the encroaching solar fields. Head back to the vehicle out there. It'll be a long morning / early afternoon and thirsty, but I'll make it. Right here, the northern end hits the interstate. You can smell it. It smells like shit. Dry Lake Range is behind me. It's the very last dip ahead. Healthy Erodium texanum up here, co-occurring with its invasive relative from Eurasia. We know this one is from the New World at least. Texanum, it's been named. Erodium secutarium is a fierce competitor with this plant up here. Some Plantago. Some Lepidium there. The Plantagos are presumed to be maybe native. A little unclear. Native status of these desert Plantagos. Dacia Clo is a native grass, just starting up with its greenery. No flowers yet. We've seen these things before. I'm not sure if I've showed you Erodium texanum. It's not common around Laughlin. It is common east of Las Vegas, or more common at least. I saw an interesting shrub starting to bloom that I don't think I've seen before, and I'm hoping to catch it there in the North Muddies, which is the next low traverse of similar size, about 10-ish miles out there. Heading there next, maybe tonight, maybe early tomorrow morning, we'll see. The very end is a little bleak. There is a super bloom occurring here. just east of the north end of the Dry Lake Range, just of Erodium Secutarium. Taxanum's holding on better in the hills, on the limestones, though I have seen it in flats like this. And of course there's a super bloom of brome, particularly prolific in this little depression. Nonetheless, we got perennials abounding as well. And it's definitely a mixed situation on the border of the solar fields here. Quite a bit of Lescarella tenella throughout, both up in the hills and out in the flats here, propping itself in other vegetation sometimes. Little round bladder pods when they get there. I've seen some in fruit. Running into red gypsum-y type stuff beyond protected areas. Very interested what I might see on some of them. Not too pleased to be cut off from the north end there. The wide expanse of photovoltaic array encroaching upon the desert every day now. Who knows how far along to Las Vegas this array will stretch one day, leaving no room for plants or animals in its way. But now I'm on the right freaking path back to the car, thirsty as heck with the detour. Should have been back to beverages by now. Voice is drying out. Can't wait to hit the Fritz Seltzer. It's gonna go down quickly.